All right, so I saw a report today on Twitter that was both good and concerning at the same exact time. Obviously, you guys can see it here. There was a report that said the Philadelphia 76ers second best player by the end of the season could very well be VJ Edgecombe. Good thing about that is this. Whenever you draft a player, and he's a high draft pick, he's a lottery pick, whenever you can walk away with confidence in him ending the season as your team's second best player, that is amazing, right? That means that player lived up to rookie year expectations. On the flip side of that, the reason it isn't good is because the 76ers are trying to contend. The 76ers need to contend. And for them to think that by the end of the season, the second best player on this roster is going to be their rookie, that's not a good sign, right? I don't know too many contending teams that have a second best player on the roster who is a rookie, especially if they have guys like Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, and a ton of other really good players sitting on this roster. And it really just speaks more towards our lack of faith in the 76ers team and their ability to make a deep playoff run, which again is something that they absolutely need to have happen. I don't think there's a team right now going into the season with more pressure on them than the 76ers. You could talk about the Lakers. I think the Timberwolves do have a decent amount of pressure heading into the season, given that they've made back-to-back West Finals runs. I can also have the Clippers in that conversation as well. I would say maybe the Nuggets to a certain extent, and maybe some other squads out east, but it's different right now with the 76ers team. Because, for one, their front office has invested so much, both through the free agency and trade market and through the draft. Joel Embiid was a draft pick. Ben Simmons was a draft pick. Jared McCain was a draft pick. Tyrese Maxey was a draft pick. And obviously, VJ Edgecombe was a draft pick. And again, just bringing in a ton of really good players through free agency or trades. James Harden, Paul George, Jimmy Butler, they've been active. This front office has done a really good job at trying to build a roster and a contender around their best players, their best core players, and still nothing has come of it at all. And you could say injuries, but there are also a lot of situations where they had a shot at it and they just could not execute, right? I think there are a lot of questions right now when it comes to Joel Embiid and how good he really is as a playoff player. I think right now he is the face of that category of players that have these amazing regular seasons but are very questionable in the playoffs. I said this before, Joel Embiid is the big man version of James Harden, where he would have these stellar regular seasons and these stellar MVP runs, but once he got to the playoffs, there was always a wall that he continuously hit, right? So again, just looking at their situation and looking at how much this front office has invested, even changing coaches, right? You go from Brett Brown to Doc Rivers into Nick Nurse, who in my opinion is one of the best coaches in the NBA, and still nothing has come of any of this. And again, it's all not because of injuries. You can talk about 2021, where they were in the playoffs and lost in the second round to the Atlanta Hawks, which was a controversial series that really saw the disbandment of Ben Simmons. Right after that series, his relationship with that team just wasn't the same, and everything was just ugly from there. So again, they've had their shots at this, and here we are right now coming into a contending season. It should be contending season for them, saying that their second best player by the end of the year could end up being a rookie. And who knows, right? Maybe that could be a situation where Edgecombe is just that good and he is the second best player on a contending team in the rookie season, which is weird, but it would be cool to see. But common sense tells you if that is the expectation, if that is the idea, that speaks more to our lack of faith in Philadelphia to make a really meaningful, deep playoff run and truly live up to their contender status. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, a lot of eyes are on this team to make some massive noise this upcoming season. And to be fair, I did think coming into last year, they had a really, really good roster on paper, just could not get guys together to be healthy for a significant period of time. So Maxey, George, and Embiid never truly meshed. And your best player did miss a significant portion of the season. So whenever that happens, you're not going to win, right? So I'll give them that excuse at least. But again, I don't want to use that as like the overarching excuse for the entire Joel Embiid era, because again, there were enough situations where they were healthy and where they could help themselves, where they just weren't able to execute. So this roster is good, right? Again, I don't want us walking away from the 76ers Joel Embiid era thinking that the front office didn't put any work, because they did. They brought in a ton of guys, drafted a ton of really good players all of those things. It's coming down to execution, right? And smart management and things like that. And I really think this is the season where it all simply has to come together, or they do need to look into a completely different direction and possibly rebuild. And the good thing with rebuilding is this: they have enough really, really good young pieces on this roster to try to redirect and move away from whatever they're building towards right now. McCain, right? Tyrese Maxey is still young. And you also obviously have VJ Edgecombe, right? So there is still a world where if they need to redirect and they need to rebuild, they still have something they can work with. They have 3 really good young players on the roster, one of which has played very well in the playoffs with Tyrese Maxey. They still have assets they can work with if they need to go into a rebuilding direction or just redirect from Joel Embiid. So we'll see what ends up happening. Again, I think the front office has done a good enough job. It's kind of going to come down to execution this time around. And really the biggest question is, what can the Sixers do in the regular season to make us feel any more confident in their playoff performance or their ability to perform in the playoffs relative to some of the last couple of seasons we've seen from this team?